Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the IRONMAN 70.3 Chattanooga course preview. Our presenter this evening is Coach Stephanie Davis. Stephanie is a lifelong competitive athlete with a major background in swimming. She's been racing for over 18 years, finishing a number of Ironmans, half Ironmans, and marathons. She is also a triathlon coach and personal trainer, having coached athletes since 2011. She recently came over to OutRival Racing and QT2 Systems and is just completing up her education course with us here and will be joining us as a coach in the coming weeks. She lives in Chattanooga, so she brings a lot of the local flair today. So it is in a great position to provide the presentation to you today. So with that, I will turn it over to Coach Stephanie.
All right, hi everyone. So let's get started on the course. One thing, I moved to Chattanooga about 5 years ago, and I love it here. It's been one of my favorite places to live. Some of the things that our course or Chattanooga is known for is it's beautiful. There's a lot of great scenery. You're not going to be bored out on the bike for sure. It also is known a little bit for the heat and humidity. We tend not to get a lot of heat and humidity for our training, and then all of a sudden race weekend, it shows up for us. It's a very spectator friendly course. Not so much the bike, but the run and the swim. You'll have lots of spectators out on the course for you. Another thing, Chattanooga is I'm excited about Chattanooga. It has a lot of local restaurants that you'll be able to go to, and I hope that you visit. And the other thing that everyone gets really excited about for this race course in particular is the current assist swim. I've heard some people complain last year there wasn't much of a current, but even though you don't feel like you're moving along really fast, there's always just a little bit helping you along there. And then everyone is just super friendly here. Here's a picture of the finish line, which is always lined with people. It's a really exciting finish, nice downhill finish for you. So you'll come in running even if you don't feel like running. All my athletes have been asking me kind of what they should be doing right now in the 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks before the race. And I'm just telling them they need to get their nutrition, both race day and day-to-day nutrition dialed in, and be practicing that race day nutrition in all of their training, especially like that pre-race breakfast, knowing what works for you and what doesn't, so that you know what to eat race morning. Making sure all your gear and equipment is in good working order. That could include getting your bike tune-up. If you are going to take that into a local bike shop, you want to do that sooner than later. They get really busy around race time, especially if you live here in Chattanooga. And then if you can, try to simulate your race conditions. If you are expecting it to be a little warmer, maybe do some of your runs later in the afternoon when it's warmed up a little bit. Make your packing list now and start getting all of the items that you might be missing, any nutrition that you need to order that you might use up before race day. And then also double check your transportation and lodging reservations. I've had a couple people say they've had some issues with their VVROs. So just kind of maybe touch base with them and make sure everything is good to go for that. And then if you haven't already, you should have received an email from Ironman telling you that you need to go on to active.com and register for your athlete check-in time. So go and look for that email. If you can't find it, you can just log into your active.com account and go in and pick out your athlete check-in time. You will then receive from them a QR code that you have to have for your athlete check-in. And then, like I said, there's lots of great restaurants here. They get really, really busy. We're like everywhere else in the country, we're kind of short on servers. So if there's somewhere you know you want to eat, go ahead and I would go ahead and make your dinner reservations now. If they take reservations, a lot of the places here don't, but they do have like call ahead seating. So you might check into that as well. And if you need recommendations on dinner, just email me and I'll give you some good recommendations. The week before, this is what I've been doing this week. I'm racing this weekend. So I have these piles sitting out everywhere on the floor of things I need to take. So you need to start those piles and start getting your things together. Also, this week is not the week to gain more fitness. It's not the week to go out and try to do that long run that you may have missed a couple weeks ago. The things you do to this week can be detrimental to your race fitness. You're not going to gain anymore. And then you need to be doing a lot of this, lots of hydration. I can't stress that enough. Focus on sleep. And then everything now has to be plugged in. So make sure you don't forget to pack all your chargers for everything. If you have to replace batteries, if your pedals have batteries, maybe replace your batteries. If your heart rate monitor has a battery you haven't replaced in a while, you might want to put a new one of those in. And then all your chargers for your bike computers and Garmin's and DI2 if you have that on your bike. And then just start packing. And then make sure you touch base with your coach and go over your race and pacing plan. For athlete check-in, again, you have to have an appointment for this. You'll show your ID and that QR code to enter in. There's athlete check-in on Friday and Saturday. You have to do that before 4 p.m. on Saturday. You have to pick up your packet pickup. So there is no race day athlete check-in. So at the check-in, like I said, you'll take that QR code with you, your ID. This is where you're going to pick up your timing chip. You'll pick up a bracelet that you have to wear. They'll put it on for you. You have to wear that throughout the race. That's how you get in and out of transition. You'll sign some waivers, and then you'll pick up your packet. In your packet, you'll have your race bib that you have to wear on the run. You'll have stickers that you need to put on your bike and your helmet, and that's how you're recognized this year. There's no body marking, so you'll put stickers on your bike and your helmet, and then there's also some stickers for your morning bag. You'll get a swim cap. You have to wear the race swim cap for your race. So you can't wear a favorite swim cap that you have unless you put the race swim cap over it. And then you'll also get in there a bike checkout ticket. And that's really good to give to somebody that might be traveling with you, a spouse or a friend that's with you, so that they can help you get your gear out of transition when the race is over. Even if you're feeling really, really good after the race, it's always nice to have somebody go and get all that for you and take it to the car for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And then, like I said, you'll get a morning clothes bag that you can put anything that you need up until race start. You can drop that off at the swim start. So like your key fob to your car, if you don't have somebody that can take that, shoes that you might want to wear down to the swim start, anything like that can go into that morning clothes bag that's dropped off at the swim start. And then you get to walk through the expo and pick up anything that any of the vendors might be giving away. So that's always fun to do. I wouldn't spend a lot of time there. You want to, again, stay off your feet as much as possible, but it's exciting to go through that and see anything new in the expo. Again, right before the race, there is a mandatory race briefing that you'll want to visit. And that is usually down here. This is a aerial view of like the swim exit and transitions over here. And this is kind of Ironman Village where all these tents are. The last year, the athlete briefing was down here on, these are kind of steps that you can sit on, and they had the athlete briefing down there. I'm not sure if that's where it will be this year, but I would assume that would be the case. And there's 2 on Friday and 3 on Saturday that you can attend. Those are just important to attend. That's where the race director will go over anything that might be different from what's printed in the athlete guide, any changes to the course that they may have had to make. If there's weather concerns, they might talk about changes they might be making to that. So it's important to go to that. Also, before the race on Saturday, you have to check in your bike. You will be assigned, or you'll get to pick out a bike check-in time when you check in as an athlete. And you'll be given a little card that tells you your bike check-in time. Those are first come, first serve. So if somebody picks out, if you want to check your bike in between 1 and 2, and you're not through athlete check-in as one of the earlier people, that time slot could be taken. So you might have to just pick what's left for that bike check-in time. This is new this year in the athlete guide. So I highlighted this because this is new. You have to wear your timing chip to check in your bike. So when you go to check in your bike on Saturday, you have to have your timing chip on your ankle. We've never had to do that before, but that was in the athlete guide. So I want to make sure everyone saw that and is aware of that. So it says in there, you have to have your bike check, your timing chip on to check in your bike to get into transition. And once your bike is in transition, it has to stay there. But if you figure out something's wrong, there is always people in there that can help you with anything that might go wrong with your bike. Before you take your bike into transition, there's bike tech support at Ironman Village if you need assistance with that and can't make it to a local bike shop. Again, this is a picture of transition. You'll notice there is nothing left by the bikes. The only thing you take in to bike check-in is your bike. You don't want to leave anything on your bike, like your bike computer, nutrition, that kind of thing. I would just keep all that until race morning. Everything stays with you until race morning except for your bike. So you'll just check your bike in and leave it there, and everything else you'll bring with you race morning. A couple other things going on the day before. There's a pro panel. We have pro racers this year, and so every year they always have them at a panel just talking about different things. Though somebody asks them the questions. If you happen to be down there, it's at 1 o'clock. And then if you have kids, there's an Iron Kids Fun Run in the morning, and you just register the morning of. And again, some more athlete briefings on Saturday. The day before, go get a big breakfast. I don't know how this person's eating all that, but that's a lot of carbs. But you do want to get a really, really big breakfast the day before, and then gradually start to taper off those meals as the day goes on to where lunch is a little smaller than breakfast, and then dinner is a little smaller than your lunch. You want to eat an early dinner. Don't go to bed on a full stomach. You kind of want to go to bed a little bit hungry. And then just make sure before you go to bed, you have everything ready to go in the morning so you're not rushed, and you have your tri-kit, cap, goggles, everything you need for the swim set out. Organize what you want for after the race, and maybe give that to somebody that is going with you. If not, you'll put that in your race morning bag that you'll drop off at the swim start. All of your fuel and hydration that you're going to put on your bike, you might want to put that aside too in a different place so you don't confuse it with what you'll need to take with you to the swim start. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So you'll need fuel and hydration to put on your bike that stays in transition, and then some fuel and hydration to take with you to the swim start. And then don't forget to set that early alarm. Race morning. So race morning, you want to eat your breakfast nice and early. You want that to be low in fiber, low in fat, not too much protein. If you're a core diet athlete or a QT2 or OutRival, you'll be eating your applesauce breakfast. You want to keep hydrating all morning on your sports drink. So keep sipping that sports drink all morning long. Transition opens at 4:30 a.m. That's as early as you can get into transition to start setting up your transition area and putting all of your hydration and fuel on your bike. It closes at 6:15. That's pretty early closing time. So you need to be out of transition at 6:15 and either walking down to the swim start or on one of the shuttle buses to get to the swim start. There's no parking down at the swim start, so don't think that a family member can drive you down there, and only buses are able to get into the area where they're dropping you off. So there isn't a really good spot for a family member to drop you off to get to the swim start. So I just plan on taking that shuttle, or you can walk. It's a little over a mile walk down the river path to get to the swim start if you want to use that as your warm up. And again, at the swim start, there'll be a place you can drop off your morning clothes bag. Just make sure that's labeled with one of your stickers and your race number on there. The river, there is no place that you can do a swim warm up. So you'll have to do a dry land warm up, unfortunately. So don't think there's any way to get in and do a swim warm up. There is no place to do that. Like I said, you're going to either walk or take the shuttle down to the swim start. They said an athlete guide could take them up to 85 minutes to get all of the racers into the water. That's a really long time to sit down there at the swim start without fuel and hydration. So plan on taking a throwaway bottle, plan on taking something to eat. If you plan on being one of the last ones in the water, especially, take that walk that, take that down there with you so that you can sip on your hydration up until you're ready to get into the water. And they'll have trash cans and things there for you. And then just don't forget in the morning to allow a little bit of time to take a moment and reflect back on your journey that got you here. Race day. Okay, there's always cutoffs for race day, and this race isn't any different. They're very similar to all the other races, even though the swim's a little bit longer, it's still the same cutoff time. So the swim course cutoff is 1 hour and 20 minutes after the last athlete enters the water. And this is done by a rolling start. So you're going to self-seed yourself. So you'll get in line with, they'll have, if you've ever done a marathon or half marathon, there'll be people with signs that say your swim time is between 28 and 30 minutes, 30 minutes and 32 minutes or something like that. And you're just going to go get in line to where your projected swim time for this race distance would be. And then you'll self-seed yourself that way. And then they just will walk you on, and I'll show you a picture of that swim start in a minute, down to the dock to where you just will go in a couple swimmers at a time. So you have 1 hour and 20 minutes to finish the swim. The bike cutoff is 5 hours and 30 minutes to complete the swim, transition, the bike and transition. So there is also a intermediate cutoff on the race course. If you don't make it to mile 31 in 3 hours and 30 minutes, after the last athlete starts to swim, they will pull you from the course right then. And then they'll bus you back to transition. Same thing with the run. There is a run cutoff at mile 6.5. That's when you start the second loop of 7 hours from the last time from the last swimmer getting in. And then the overall cutoff for the race is 8 hours and 30 minutes to complete the full race. All right, let's talk about the fun stuff. So this is what makes this race different. So the swim. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. The swim is now, if you've done it in the past, last year was the first year that it was a point-to-point swim on the same side of the river. The years before, it started over here and you had this upriver swim before swimming downriver. Now the whole thing is downriver and it's all on the same side. There's this island here in the middle that you swim all on the same side of the river of this island. So again, it's a self-seated rolling group start. And if you look at this, what I want to point out is a lot of people, especially if they're newer or not confident swimmers, they always try to swim right along the shoreline just because they feel a little safer there. Well, if you do that in this swim, you're going to be swimming a long way compared to the person that would get out and just take this straight shot over here. So I would suggest, and also there's two things for this. The closer you can get to this island, more into the middle of the river, the stronger the current is. So if you want more assistance in your swim, even if the current's not very strong, you're going to have more current here in the middle than closer to the shore down here. So they'll have these buoys and there's going to be kayakers and safety boaters that are going to try to keep you on this side of the buoys. I would get as close to them as you can, or as close to this island as they'll allow you, so that you can get that current assist. And all these buoys none of these are turn buoys. There's only one turn buoy here at the swim exit. This is the only buoy that you have to swim around. And it's right when you're you just turning and then you're swimming right to the stairs to get out. And I have a picture of those too. When you get out, there is a ramp that you have to run up to get to T1 that can really spike the heart rate. So I suggest walking up it. It's kind of hard to do because there's so many spectators there. So you get a little excited and you want to run up it. But just know it is it's a pretty significant ramp there that you have to go up to get out. So here's the picture of the boathouse that you'll walk through. This is the rowing center's boathouse that you'll walk through, and this is the dock that you'll be walking off to get in the water, and they'll walk you down, I don't know how many, I think 5 or 6 at a time to get onto the dock and then jump in. And once you jump in, this is your view. So this is looking down where you're going to swim. This is the tip of that island that you're going to swim to. And this is what I'm saying. If you went and swam over here at the shore, you're going to be swimming a lot farther than if you jumped in and just went straight at it, straight as possible. The nice thing about this swim too is that there's all these items up here that you can use for sighting instead of the little buoys in the water. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Instead of the little buoys in the water. So each time you look, just pick something up high that you can sight really easy. And then as you get around that curve, you'll have more things to sight. There's so many bridges you'll go under, and there'll be big pillars on the bridge that you can sight as well. This is the same picture I kind of showed you before, but these are your turn buoys. You're going to swim in. I don't know if they'll have both of them. Last year they just had this one that you had to swim around, but you go and you swim around this turn buoy, and the stairs are right here. And this is what they look like. They'll have a ton of volunteers to help you get up these stairs. They seem pretty high, but you're so excited to be out of the water, you don't really notice them. And then you have all your friends and spectators here cheering for you to get out of the swim. It's a really great swim exit. And then this, of course, you can have spectators all along here cheering for you all the way into your swim finish. And that's after you've gone under the Market Street Bridge, which is lined with spectators as well. So they're gonna have people watching you for most of the swim. Super exciting. The bike. Let's talk about the bike. So the bike, you start here in downtown, and it's 11 miles out to where you start this loop. So the bike some of it is not my favorite, and it's the very beginning. The very beginning on the bike is just a little tricky just because of the roads here in downtown. About a mile out, there's some railroad crossings, and you're going to have to be careful going over those railroad crossings. There will be all kinds of nutrition and bike bottles that have been ejected from people's bikes and bike parts. They're always coming flying off of there. So be very careful when you're coming to those. Again, they're right at a mile out from transition. Just kind of make note of those and make sure all of your bottles are in your cages really well so they don't eject out. And just be mindful that you might have to dodge some bottles and things on the road right there. And then once you make a turn going south and you start going through a little part of Chattanooga called St. Elmo, the roads there can be a little tricky. There's big, huge storm drains on the side of the road that you kind of want to stay to the right, but on here you really don't. Those storm drains can get your tires really, really easy. So you just have to be really, really patient getting out of town. Don't think that you're going to get on your bike and start making a ton of speed gains getting out of town. Just be patient with the road, be patient with other people, especially if it's really crowded. Once you get out of St. Elmo, you take a turn on Highway 193. It's where it starts to get really beautiful and you have a lot of great scenery to look at. And then after you pass the aid station here and you start this loop or the going south from the start of this loop, these are just really nice rollers going out. So again, there's a lot to do during this race course. It's not flat or boring. So a lot of rollers going out of town here, and you'll notice there's this, you're always going to be kind of going up a little bit. So if you're feeling like you're working really, really hard, just pay attention to your pacing going out, so you're not going out too hard to get southbound. And then once you get kind of halfway in the middle of the course here, there's this little climb, and you'll probably hear people talk about it. That's Edwards Lane climb. It's right after you take a right-hand turn. A left-hand turn. Take a left-hand turn, and then you immediately start climbing. So it's short, it's sweet. It's about 9 to 11% grade in some areas. It's not super long, but it can be a little tough for some riders. So that's the one of the climbs that you hear people talk about. This is the other one. This is the climb coming out of Chickamauga. And I've heard people say, they were waiting for some really big hill to come, and then they didn't really notice it. It is a climb, but it's just a steady, nice climb. It's not going to be too terrible for most of you. So the rest of it's just kind of rolling and really, really pretty. The other thing to pay attention to is when you come back into town, you have this nice little downhill once you hit Riverside Street, and you get going really fast and you're really excited to be done with the bike. And then all of a sudden the dismount line just hits you. And I've seen a lot of people wreck there because they're squeaking their brakes and they're trying to stop because they're coming down this little hill so fast. So just be mindful when you start to see runners on the course coming at you, start to slow down a little bit and get ready for that dismount line so you're not surprised by it. The aid stations on the bike course are around anywhere from 10 to 15 miles. They're marked a little differently on this race map than where they were last year. So I'm not sure if they're going to change the spots on those. So those of you that have done this race before, I don't know if they'll be in the same exact spots. These are items that are going to be on the aid stations. You get water, Gatorade Endurance is the orange one, the orange version on the bike course. Red Bull, they have some gels out there. Energy, the quantum energy squares, fig bars, and then on the bike you get bananas. Penalties. So I kind of went over this a lot with some of my athletes that have never raced Ironman before. They're a little concerned about the penalties. So when you're out on the course on the bike, there'll be a motorcyclist out that have race officials on the back with them, and they're looking for athletes that violate, some of the rules. And if you are in a violation of the rule, the race official will show you a card, and the card will be one of three colors: blue, yellow, or red. More than likely, it's not going to be a red card unless you've gotten 3 blue cards. And so once you've been shown a card, you have to stop at the next penalty tent and serve your time there. So if you get a blue card, that's a 5-minute penalty. If you're shown a yellow card, that's mostly for blocking. We'll talk about what that is. That's a 30-second penalty. And then if you are shown a red card for some reason, it's a disqualification, but you can continue to do the race. You can finish the race. You will not have an official time. You will not be able to get any awards or any roll down slots or anything like that, but you do not have to get off of the race course unless the race referee tells you to. So over here are some of the things that happen that this is how you get those penalties. If you're not riding on the right side, so always be on the right-hand side of the bike course unless you're passing someone. And you need to, if you're on the right-hand side and you're just going to ride single file behind the person in front of you, but you need to allow for 6 bike lengths. That's 12 meters. 6 bike lengths are 12 meters between you and the rider in front of you. If you need to pass them, you're going to pass them on the left, and you have to pass them within 25 seconds. Now, if you're the one being passed, you have to back off once their wheel becomes even with yours. You have to back off and allow them that 12-meter 6 bike lengths. So that's kind of the blocking violation. If a race official rolls up and doesn't see you back off when you're being passed, you can get that blocking violation. If you're seen using a device that can be considered distracting, like a camera or a phone, well, I think if you're using a camera, they can disqualify you immediately. But so don't take your cameras, or don't use your phones. If you use your phone as your bike computer, don't use it as a camera. Just don't even attempt that. Don't start taking pictures of the bike course. And then you can get a penalty for not having your helmet strapped or riding without a helmet. If you accept any outside assistance, so if something happens and you get a flat, you can accept help from a race official, meaning like a race mechanic that's out there to help you, or another athlete, but you cannot accept assistance from anybody else on the course. And if you're caught littering, that's a disqualification, or can be a disqualification. The only place that you can throw down trash is in the aid station zones. So make sure you're not putting trash out on the course, please. Also, you can get disqualified or a penalty if you're verbally abusive to any Ironman staff or volunteers. So if they give you a penalty, I wouldn't argue with them. Just go with it. You can always talk to somebody after the race. The run course. So after you came down that nice sweeping downhill finish into T2, you get to go out on the nice run course. So you get to run up a hill first thing coming out of transition. I take that back. You come out of transition, you have a little out and back, so you get to see bikers coming into transition before you start on the bike path, and then up Riverside Drive, which is a little bit of a hill. And then you'll start on Amnicola. Amnicola is hot. It's just hot, hot, hot. It's just black, hot pavement. So just know there's a little section that's just a little warm, but the nice thing after you get through the aid station on the Amnicola, it's a little downhill. So you can pick up a little bit of speed, even though it's a little warm out there, before you turn and then go in here onto the river path. And then so starting here, you go out and there's a little turnaround, and then all along here, you're on the river path. There's a weird little section that you have another little out and back there. There used to be an aid station throughout that out and back, but I think they moved it just a little bit closer to the rowing center now. So you'll pass the rowing center, which is where the swim start was, and you'll run all along where you just swam earlier that morning until you get to this little hill in Battery Place, and it was called Battery Place Hill. It's always lined with spectators. It's really fun area. It can be a little shaded there, which is really, really nice. And then you take a sharp turn on and run over Veterans Bridge. So it's the first bridge you get to run over. So you'll run over Veterans until the other end, and then you have a little out and back after you get off Veterans Bridge here, and then you'll cross over. You have a little down until you cross back over the river on the walking bridge or Market Street Bridge. And this one is only for pedestrians. Only pedestrians can be on this bridge, so it's always lined with spectators. It's a lot of fun. And then you'll exit the bridge and then start that loop all over again. And then when you're coming back in from transition on the end of your second loop, you get to run back down that nice hill on Riverside. So you get this nice sweeping downhill finish to the finish line. And it's really hard to not run fast down that hill. So it's fun to come in to a finish line full of spectators and be running super fast. One thing to remember when coming out of T2, don't forget to put your race bib number on. You have to have that on to finish the race or on the race course itself. Again, this run is not flat. There's a couple little tiny hills, but most of it's just like little rollers up and down. It's a fun race course to run along the river and cross over those two bridges. Aid stations, again, same kind of things. Water, Gatorade, this time it's lemon lime, Red Bull, cola, the savior of many, pretzels, chips. You have bananas and oranges, the Martin gels, the Quantum energy bars, Fig Newton's ice. And then at the first aid station in the athlete guide, they said they're going to have active ice, which I was not familiar with, but it's like a spray kind of that you can put on for areas that are not feeling so good. So they'll have that at the first aid station. My final thoughts for this race: one, just have fun with it. It's a fun race course, lots of spectators, but because it is so ever evolving, meaning that it's not either flat or really hilly, it's always changing. You have to manage it. So you're gonna have to manage what you have control over. You have to stick with your fueling and hydration plan. This is for one of my friends. I think that's on right now. If you get grumpy, eat. So keep following your pacing guidelines or your race plan throughout the race. And then I always tell my athletes to just break the race down into smaller jobs, especially if you're having trouble staying focused on, or if you're focusing too much on the outcome instead of the process. If you're a little off of your pace and don't start to get down on that, just break it down into little smaller jobs of what section of the race that you're on. And please thank all the volunteers. They're out there for you. And then also especially thank the supporters that you're with, or your loved ones that came to watch you race. I love spectating as much as I love racing, but it's really hard work. So make sure you thank them for being there, and just please enjoy what you can do. There's so many people that would love to do what we do, and I'm so thankful that we're able to race again. So enjoy that you're out there doing it, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I will see you out on the course. I'll be out there spectating all day, so I'm excited to see you guys race. And right now we'll see if there's any questions.
If you have any questions, you can either put them into the chat box or go ahead and come off mute and you can ask it live. Anything?
I have an athlete on, I think. Kristen, is there anything you want to add to what was said about the race course? Anything you remember about doing the race last year that I didn't mention that you want to bring up?
I mean, I think you did a really great job of covering just about everything. No, like at the end of the swim finish, like when you're getting to the stairs, there's several stairs under the water that you're not going to be able to see just because the water is murky. And there's a lot of people trying to get to the same place at the same time. So just kind of and you're going to be all excited to get out. So just be careful with that transition out of the water so you don't get yourself all banged up. I would definitely walk up that ramp after you come out of the swim start. But you'll take a right on the sidewalk. You'll go through like an arch and then a left up a pretty steep ramp. If you run up that ramp, your heart rate's going to be sky high by the time you get to transition. And last year, like we had to run this like big circuit around transition to get to our bikes, and they don't like sweep the parking lot or anything. So if you got tender feet, there's lots of rocks. So just kind of know that. I heard there might be wetsuit strippers this year. Do we know for sure about that yet?
It didn't say in the athlete guide. So I think that might be something that we brought up at the race briefing.
Okay.
I know some of the races that they've already had this year, they've had them. So I would assume possibly, but I'm not going to say for sure until I hear from the race director.
Gotcha.
I didn't notice on the volunteer sign up if there was sign up for wetsuit strippers either.
Okay. As far as the bike goes, I just want to reiterate to be very careful as you cross the mountain line because it is chaos and people are in a hurry and people fall over in front of you. So just be super aware of your surroundings. Take your time. Don't rush it. I mean, you're not going to lose much time if you take a second to make sure you've got space to do what you need to do and not run over anyone. And those railroad tracks, they do put kind of like plywood things over them, but they're still rough, and there'll be someone there telling you to slow down. They're serious because bottles eject pretty easily there. Sometimes even people have their arrow bottles pop up if they hit those tracks too hard. So just be really careful around those. Other than that, yeah, once you get out of St. Elmo, it gets really smooth. They've recently repaved 193 and Cove Road. It is like butter, so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot faster than it used to be. And that Andrews Hill or whatever you guys called it, you called it something different, is really no big deal. It's going to be a sharp left-hand turn, and you're going to be going pretty fast. So you'll see somebody there making sure people make the turn. You'll just want to kind of gear down and get into an easier gear you can spin in, because once you make that turn, it goes up fast.
Yes,
But really, it is.
fast. Yeah.
It is not that long, and you're rewarded with a really nice fast downhill once you get to the top.
Okay, a funny note about that I didn't mention before. There's a cemetery at the top of the hill. So, you can always just hang out there, I guess, if you don't make it.
Yeah. Other than that, it's, once you get back onto, or once you get on the heading back towards Chickamauga, it really becomes so much faster course. You don't realize how much uphill climbing you do on that first half until you turn the corner and heading back to Chickamauga. It's a really good fast section, and that hill in Chickamauga really is no big deal. It's a very gradual climb, except for like the last maybe 100 yards. And again, you get a really nice, very fast downhill as a reward for that.
But that downhill does come in right before a right-hand turn, or there's usually an aid station and then a right-hand turn to turn back to going back into town. So just be watching for that aid station if they keep it in the same place.
Yeah, and just slow down through the aid stations. You'll have people who aren't used to doing this and get nervous, who will stop and while still on the road at the aid station. So if you're not going to take anything from the aid station, keep to the left, slow your pace down. If you are going to take something, either be comfortable and have the bike handling skills to grab what you need and keep moving without causing any pileups behind you, or pull off entirely, like across the white line, get out of the way so that somebody doesn't run you over.
And also at all the aid stations, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, there's always usually a porta potty at the aid station. So just know if you need to use the restroom, you don't have to go on the side of the road. Please do go on the side of the road. Wait till you get to one of the aid stations and there's porta potties there.
Yeah, I think actually going alongside the road's part of like the rules that you're not.
Yeah,
supposed
one of
to
the rules.
trouble
Yep.
for.
But you always see people do that.
Yeah. And same thing coming back in through St. Elmo. It's the same rough route coming back in, and you're going to be excited to get on the run. And that coming into transition is really fast. So definitely just be careful of that. Run wise, it's going to be hot. It always seems like the run temperatures like just start soaring as soon as you start on that run. The first section of it is kind of uphill on Amnicola. I wouldn't necessarily run up that hill unless you're used to running hills. And the aid station will be about a mile down. And get ice as much as you can. Put it in your shirt, put it under your
Take it
hat.
with you.
Yeah.
Chemical is just hot, but it doesn't last very long.
It doesn't. And I use a run vest because I need to get more hydration in than what I can get at just the aid stations. And you'll see some people out there doing that as well. But the run course is fun. Because it's so spectator friendly, there's a ton of people the whole way, and like coming up across the walking bridge is always jam packed full of people. And then you get a downhill finish, which is awesome because you can fly down the red carpet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun course. It's a really fun course. I think for both spectators and racers. So yeah, super fun. Any other questions or tips?
Yeah, this is Sharon. So I did the full there last year and the roads were a mess, I thought. I ended up getting a flat tire and had another mechanical issue and lost quite a bit of time, but it sounds like they did do some paving work.
Yeah, most of the roads in North Georgia have been repaved. Now the roads in downtown and then going through St. Elmo have not. And again, they're city roads, and the roads in St. Elmo are old roads, so you've got a lot of curve to them. And then you have to just really watch for like the manhole covers or utility covers because they've been paved so much. Those are really down in there, and so they can cause quite a bit of damage if you hit them with your tires. So just be a good cyclist, point them out to everyone else around you, communicate with people. I know we're racing, but we can all kind of work together to get through those rough sections, and just like I said, point them out to everyone if you can. If we're all doing that, then everyone will know where they're at and kind of can avoid them.
Yeah.
Again,
they did a good job of marking everything, but the problem I had was there was like sections of road that were like, they were just crap. They were like, and I'm from New York, and they were in worse shape than our roads. And it was just like rumbling. And all of a sudden, I could feel something was going on. I looked back, I had a flat tire. So
that section that I think that you're referring to is one of the sections they've recently repaved. And with the exception of like a 100-foot spot where last time I was out there, they had left unpaved for some reason. The rest of it is much better. You don't have the upheaval in the tarmac like you did in the big giant, like just cracked potholes everywhere. It's a lot better.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And just know the whole course is open to traffic. So be mindful, don't take up a ton of room, just stay the right unless you're passing. And hopefully we can get through this race safely and nobody gets injured. So anything else about the
only thing I would add for anybody who's never done a 70.3 or even a full or whatever before is that when you're coming on the bike out of T1, it's going to be crowded. There is no way that you're not going to be able to be in that draft zone until you get out of St. Elmo. You don't really have to worry about the referees until you get out there. And even then, if you're obviously not attempting to deliberately draft, you're probably fine. But just know that don't stress out too much because it's going to be bunched up in the beginning.
That, and I definitely wouldn't try to get into aero when you're in a crowded area like that and going through bad roads. Just stay on your brakes. So you can use them if you need to. Being an aero is not going to gain you much right there. Dodging potholes and everything else. So wait until you got a little bit of space to get into your aero bars. Just be patient, try to eat, calm your heart rate down from T1, taking some fluid, just use that time. You have a little bit of control over what you can do during that time, and going super fast is probably not it. So use it to your advantage to get in fuel and hydration, on your way out. So anything else? Well, I thank you guys. I appreciate you being on, and email if you have any questions or want to know any restaurants to eat, and I'll be happy to help you.
All right, thanks very much. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay, thanks.